All right, guys, thanks for coming. It's the After Challenge Nutrition Seminar. So we're calling it the Lean Eating Seminar. So we're going to teach you how to transition from either the diet, the challenge diet, or the 28-day program. So either one's going to fit. At the end of the day, we want you doing something and transitioning to something. So a lot of people, it's like, what's next? Here's what's next. What you don't want to do is obviously go back to what you were doing before either the challenge or the 28-day program. All right, so with this, you know, the question's always what's next, what's next, what's next. When we get into week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, you know, they're always going what's next, and usually our thing is just worry about next week. And we don't want you focusing on 6 weeks from now, 12 weeks from now, 18 weeks from now. It's great that you're thinking about that you're not just going to stop what you're doing, but at the end of the day, nutrition is really just a week by week type thing, and you should focus on day by day. So truly with the challenges or our 28-day programs or any of our promos that we do, it's meant to be just the beginning. It's not meant to be the end. So whether it's 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, it's just the beginning. And what we're trying to accomplish is we want you to build on the momentum that you gained during those, initial 3 to 6 weeks. Research shows that in order for you to be successful long term, people that build momentum with their program from the beginning, meaning you get good results from the beginning, are more likely to stick with the program and then eventually reach their goal, as opposed to the philosophy of, just take it really slow. Most people tend to give up, especially if they don't have the support and accountability needed. So it's actually pretty vital for us to get you pretty good results from the beginning in order to get you to where we want you to be. What I really want to stress, and me and Aaron stresses all the time, we don't want you going back to your old bad habits. So here's what happens with especially our challenges. We have people that do phenomenally well and they continue on, and then eventually they make it onto a poster. Right now we have like 6 or 7 more posters that need to be made. So in our program currently we have 20 plus people that have lost 50 plus pounds, and most of them all did a challenge or did some type of promotion and continued on. And then there's still a decent percentage of people that get phenomenal results, do incredibly well during whatever the time span is, and then they go back to eating their old bad way, gain weight back. And for me, obviously our goal is for you not to be the latter of gaining the weight back. Our goal is that you continue on and eventually reach your goals. So here's what we need from you guys. It's a long-term commitment. Literally, it's 52 weeks for the rest of your life. So when you're looking at nutrition, don't just look at it acutely. You need to look at it as a lifestyle and developing the habits to make it a lifestyle. So many people yo-yo diet, they stop, they start over, they stop, they start over. Truly, we want you guys, this is it. Continue on, go all in, and just know that you're in it for the long haul. If you put the mental mindset, oh, I'll just do it for 6 weeks, or I'll do it for 12 weeks, and then I stop, you put an end date on it, then you will have an end date on it, and then that's when you start going back the other way. So when you look at nutrition, look at it as a 52-week to the rest of your life program, as opposed to I'm going to diet for 6 weeks, or I'm going to diet for 12 weeks, or I have a wedding around the corner, so I'm going to diet really hard for that, and then after that I'm going to go back to eating poorly and gain the weight back. That's what we don't want. So long-term commitment, long-term focus when it comes to nutrition. If it's something that you're doing and you're going, oh, I can only do this for another 4 weeks, or I can only do this for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, then it's probably not the right program. Now, with our challenge program, obviously it's pretty restrictive. It's lower carbs, and obviously acutely that gets you really good results, but it's not necessarily a long-term diet. So today we're going to show you how to make it a long-term diet, make it a little less restrictive, and more of a 52-week to the rest of your life type of program, as opposed to just, oh, I can do this for 6 weeks. So here's the deal. One of the biggest things that, if I can prevent it, is from yo-yo dieting. Question for everyone, who knows someone who's lost a bunch of weight and gained it all back? Okay. How many of you is that you? How many of you have lost a bunch of weight and put it back, right? So I've done it, most people do. The research is 98% of diets fail. So that means either they never reach their goal or eventually they lose the weight, they gain it all back. And honestly, it really screws with your metabolism and reduces muscle tissue and is psychologically damaging. So a lot of people lose weight, and a lot of people who diet wrong lose a lot of muscle tissue. So along the way, yes, you're losing weight. Yes, the scale says you're losing weight, but along the way, you're actually losing muscle tissue. So say you lose 20 pounds, but 10 of those pounds come from muscle. And then your resting metabolic rate is directly correlated to how much muscle you have on your body. So now you yo-yo diet, you starve yourself, you don't exercise correctly, you lose a bunch of muscle tissue, and then you go back to eating the way you were. Now you have a bunch of excess calories because you suppressed your metabolism, and now you gain that 20 pounds back, but instead of it being the same 20 pounds, you're actually probably 10 pounds fatter than you were before. So even though the scale says you're the same weight, you're still that 20 pounds, you're actually fatter. You don't think you are, but you are. So, or you go, oh my God, these jeans used to fit at that weight, they no longer fit. That's because you probably gained 5 to 10 pounds of fat. So yo-yo dieting really screws with your metabolism. And people that have yo-yo dieted, especially with our challenge program, if you haven't dieted in a really, really long time, your metabolism's really good and you drop weight really fast. If you've yo-yo dieted, that's when we see a lot of, it takes a lot longer for you to drop the weight, is because you've screwed up your metabolism. So the goal today is to stop the cycle, and honestly, if anything, fail forward. None of you are going to be perfect. All of us are going to make mistakes. But when you make mistakes, when you hit obstacles, and there's going to be obstacles because we live in this world called life, so there's going to be obstacles. When you hit the obstacles, if your goal is big enough, if your why is big enough, which we'll talk about, you'll continue going. If it's not, you'll just quit and you'll go back. And then you'll start over, and then you'll quit and go back, and you'll start over. So when you fail, learn from it. Why did you fail? Why did you make a mistake? Why did you cheat? Why did you always look at it as, why did I do that? And grow from it, learn from it, and move forward as opposed to moving backwards. And at the end of the day, stop starting over. All right, so let's talk about some requirements for success. All this stuff's in the guide. I go into really a lot of detail on it. But number one is plan and prep for success. So all of you, if you were successful over the last 4 or 6 weeks, all of you planned your meals, prepped your food, had it ready to go. If you want to continue to be successful, that needs to stay a part of your life. The people that honestly continue on and continue to have success, they plan and prep their meals. The people that gain all the weight back, go back to winging it, and then eventually they start sneaking in hundreds of extra calories a week. They think they're following the plan, but they're not, because they're not planning and prepping. And it's very easy that you didn't plan your meal, and your coworkers brought in a crappy lunch and you eat it instead because you didn't have your food prepared. Or you didn't have food and now your blood sugar is super low, and someone brings in a cookie, and when your blood sugar is super low, you're probably not going to say no to that cookie. So being prepared, planning it is essential, and it needs to be a part of your lifestyle. If that eliminates from your lifestyle, you will gain the weight back. There's nothing Aaron can do, there's nothing I can do for you. You need the plan, you need the prep. Is it fun to do? Probably not. I don't enjoy prepping my food. I don't enjoy having to take an hour or two out of my week to plan and prep my food. But whenever I'm successful, whenever I need to lose weight or maintain weight, I plan and prep my food. Anytime I gain weight, it's when I stop planning or prepping my food. So now there's different ways to do it. You need to find a way that fits your lifestyle. You can do 1 day a week. There's a lot of people that do 1 day a week, just mass prep as much food as humanly possible, and then freeze what you're not going to eat immediately and then warm it up later. Does it taste as good? No. But it tastes a lot better than gaining the weight back. I can promise you that right now. You can do a couple times a week. It doesn't really matter how you do it as long as it works for you and works for your lifestyle. So part of the journey is figuring out what works for you, and you almost need to schedule it as a can't miss appointment. So many of you aren't going to miss work. So many of you aren't going to miss your kids' sporting events. So many of you have these events that just are non-negotiable that you can't miss. But when it comes to food prep and taking care of yourself, those are negotiable. Don't make them negotiable Make them a can't miss commitment and stick to that schedule. So just plan around your life. Whatever works for you, figure it out. And that's one of the most important things you guys can do. It doesn't matter me telling you how much protein, carbs, fats you need to eat. That stuff doesn't matter if you're not planning and prepping for it. So make sure that that becomes a part of your life. And hopefully over the last 4 to 6 weeks, that's started to be ingrained inside of you that you need to do it. Tracking. So if you just did the challenge, you've been tracking your food, you've been tracking your macros. I know it can be tedious. I know it can be like, oh, I can't wait until I get to stop doing this. But I promise you, if you stop tracking, again, you're going to gain the weight back. You need to track. Tracking needs to be a part of your life. Research shows that those that track their food and track their measurements are successful long term. And most of you, it's really funny, a lot of people who are super successful with the diet, what are they doing? They're tracking their food, they're tracking their measurements, they're taking pictures, they're doing all these things, and then as soon as the diet's over, they stop doing that stuff and gain the weight back. So you keep stopping doing what made you successful in the first place. There's no one on our program that I know that, started with us, started tracking, and continued to track, gain weight back, right? You need that personal accountability of tracking your food and making sure you're weighing once a week, making sure that you're doing your inches once or twice a month, making sure you're taking pictures once a month, and doing your body fat once a month. You're going to tell me if you're doing those things that you're not going to be successful. You're not going to go through that effort to do those things to gain weight, and not like what you have to import into those things. So make sure you're tracking your food. At the end of the day, everything adds up. When we stop tracking our food, that's when hundreds of calories start sneaking in. It might be a little bit of potato chips, it might be a little bit of nuts, it might be a little bit of this and that, which at the end of the day adds up to hundreds of calories, which at the end of the week equals pounds. So, and a lot of you forget that you did those things. So then you get to the end of the week, your scale's up, or you didn't lose weight, and perceptually you think, oh my God, I did all this work, I did everything right, and I didn't have success. You're lying to yourself. You're not intentionally lying to yourself, but perceptually that's how it feels. So make sure that you're still tracking everything, you're still counting things, or else you're going to have a lot of unnecessary frustration in your life. And then if you have too much of it, usually if you have too much resistance, you're going to go back because you're going to say it's not worth all the effort. Progress. I know, especially if you're not necessarily trying to lose weight, tracking progress becomes tedious and boring, and sometimes you don't see the value of it, especially if things aren't going in the direction that you want. How many people are like, oh, I had a bad week, I'm not even going to step on the scale, right? So you still need that personal accountability of the scale, of the measurements, and all those things, or else, again, you're just going to lie to yourself. Because just like losing weight, it goes off very slow. You don't see it from a day-to-day basis, but progress is happening, but you just can't see it because you see yourself every day. Same thing with weight gain. You see yourself every day, so you don't see a little bit adding on, a little bit adding on, a little bit adding on, and then 2 months later you step on the scale and holy cow, you're 10 pounds heavier, and you didn't think that was happening. So we all need some level of personal accountability with our plans. The more accountability that you can structure into your plan, the more likelihood of success for you. So keep doing that. At the end of the day, we need to face reality. Use fit clients. So if you're not using fit clients already, in the guide, there's links to set it up. I will warn you, sometimes fit clients has some malfunctions and stuff doesn't work right. And then some people get frustrated, I'm not using this anymore. Still use it. We will work through it. But if you're updating fit clients with all that stuff, you can update all the stuff that we talked about, the pictures, the inches, your weight, so on there, and you can set a goal on there as well, and it'll help you see each week if you're on pace to hit your goal or not. So it's actually, when it works correctly, it's great software. When it doesn't work correctly, I want to throw my computer. But just use it. It also lets us to see how you're doing as well. It sends us a report every week saying whether you're on track, off track, all those kinds of things. Number 3, protect 2 hours of your week. The most important hour is the food prep. So I'm talking about food prep again, but honestly, if you're going to devote, at least 1 hour to your fitness regimen. The most important hour is going to be the food prep of it. Everyone thinks, oh, I need to work out 8 days a week, and I need to make it to the gym 3 times a day, all these things. All that stuff doesn't matter if you're not eating correctly. I'd rather you take a day out of the gym to make sure that your food is ready to go. It's really, really that important. If your food's not on point, I don't care how hard you're working out, I don't care how many days a week you're coming, you're not going to be successful. This needs to be a habit. So it's that important that I'm talking about it again. Now, one of the biggest things that you need to focus on is the weekends. So most PLDs, which I call poor life decisions, happen Friday evening, Saturday, and Sunday, right? So, and usually those are the times that we're least prepared, we're least planned, and we wing it. So with that, make sure that you're planning for the weekend just as you are planning for the week. Typically during the week, our weeks are pretty structured. You know, we know when we're going to work, we know when we're getting a workout, we know when we're going to eat, and it's pretty structured throughout the day. And then comes the weekend, structure goes out the window, and that's actually where you're least successful. You have the most amount of time, but you tend to make bad decisions because you're not planning and prepared. Do you have to be perfect? Do you have to count everything that goes in your mouth? Not necessarily, but you need to make sure that you have good food readily available, or else it's very easy to talk yourself into eating something you know you shouldn't be eating, and then you just ruined your entire week's worth of hard work over the weekend. So don't do that. Second most important hour, we have a saying, never miss a Monday, and the reason why I say Monday is because most people associate Monday with the beginning of a week. So if at the beginning of the week you make it to your workout, you're far more likely to get the rest of your workouts in, far more likely to get 3 to 4 workouts in for the rest of the week, and you're more likely to eat your food. How many people have like missed a Monday and then they excuse why, you know, now I can't make it 3 or 4 days this week, so why even bother coming the rest of the week? Or you end up making it one time, and then since you only made it a couple times to the gym, then you're like, well, I'm not going to have a huge week on the scale, so I might as well eat some extra food. I know I've done it where it's like, well, I can't get the perfect weekend, so I'm just going to self-sabotage the rest of the week and rationalize why it's okay. So make sure the beginning of the week you're on point, your food's ready to go, you get that workout in, and I promise you the rest of the week just seems to run so much smoother than when you miss it. So make it a habit of getting here on Monday. I like looking at attendance and seeing that our Monday attendance is always the highest of the week. So some people don't like it because it gets crowded, but I like it because I know that people are going to be on point for the rest of the week. Establish your why. So whatever program you're on, that's one of the first things I talk about is figuring out your why. It's usually the reason why you started the program in the first place is because of your why. So if that's not strong, if that's not in place, if it's not big enough, when you hit those obstacles, when you hit those bumps in the road, you'll go back because your why is not big enough. Your why should be so big that no matter the obstacles, no matter how hard you have to fight, no matter if the scale hasn't moved in a month, you're going to continue to keep fighting and keep working towards your goals. It needs to be that important. And your why needs to pretty much trump anything else in your life. I'm not saying it needs to trump your family and all those other things, but it needs to be a huge driving force in your life. And when you look at it, it should fire you up. If you look at it and it just doesn't motivate you, then your why isn't big enough. So do some deep soul searching on that so that whenever you look at it, no matter maybe you're disappointed, you're discouraged, you should be able to look at your why and keep fighting and keep going. If you look at your why and it still doesn't do anything for you, then you need to do some homework and figure that out. Face reality. Life isn't sunshine and rainbows. Q and Rocky on that one. Now, if you want to be successful, you need to know what your obstacles are. All of us have obstacles. All of us have some type of limitation. All of us have those couple of things that hold us back from reaching our goals, or if we reach our goals, the reason why we go back after we reach our goals. So all of you probably have 2 or 3 things off the top of your head that you can think of that prevent you from doing the things you know you need to do. All of us have them, and if you say you don't have any limitations, you're lying to yourself. I have a lot of limitations. So, and the only reason, when I'm successful, I figure out ways to work around those limitations. When I'm not successful, I let the limitations win because I didn't plan for them. So all of you should write on your pieces of paper, or when you go home, write down what are your limitations, what are the things that are holding you back from reaching your goals, and figure out 2 to 3 ways to work around them. Maybe you're traveling, maybe you have a social event, maybe you have X, Y, and Z for work. Maybe people always bring donuts on Tuesday, and you always cave on those donuts on Tuesday. You need to figure out a couple ways to work around not eating those donuts on Tuesday. Or Friday was National Donut Day. How many people had a donut? No one's going to admit it. But at the end of the day, you know what your limitations are. You know what your obstacles are. You need to face the reality of those. You can pretend that they don't exist, but then you're going to continue to be a victim of your obstacles and limitations, okay? So make sure that you really plan for those. The other one that I didn't mention was eating out. A lot of us struggle with eating out. Honestly, if you're super committed to losing weight and you're trying to maximize results, eating out you should avoid unless it's a cheat meal or a cheat day or something like that. I know that's not always advisable, and then people are going to talk about life balance and all those things. A lot of us can't handle eating out and sticking to the plan. So again, obstacle, right? If you know that's you, if you know that's a limitation, then you need to work around it. That might be not eating out for maybe 8 weeks or 12 weeks, unless it's a cheat meal or whatever. So make your social time 1 day a week, have it planned. There's a lot of people that do our challenge, and we make no bones about it. It's going to be hard. You're going to have to make sacrifice, all those things. And then people are like, well, I want to eat out 3 times a week, and I want to drink, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. You can't have everything. Either you truly want to lose weight and change your life and change your lifestyle, or you don't. So I would keep eating out to a minimum, but I'll talk about planning ahead for eating out. Pretty much every restaurant these days has their menu online. You can make healthy choices. Just because you eat out doesn't mean you have to eat like a glutton pig. And how many people have been to a huge social event at a restaurant and you order a chicken breast and a broccoli and you're the weird one, right? Everyone's eating fried food and cheeseburgers and pizza, and that's okay, that's socially acceptable, but as soon as you try to do something healthy for yourself, you're the weird one. Why you on a diet, right? And at the end of the day, we want to be the weird ones. 70% of our population is overweight or obese. So that's normal. If you want to be normal, then do those things. But if you want to be abnormal, be healthy, take care of yourselves, do the things required to make yourself successful. All right, consistency and adherence. I don't care what the diet is. I don't care what I prescribe you. I could give you the perfect plan in the world, but it doesn't matter if you do not follow it, right? So they did a huge meta-analysis of hundreds of different weight loss research studies, and the #1 key to success was adherence. Imagine that, right? So that's pretty much saying that most diets work, but people fail. Now, a lot of people pick diets that don't work for them, and then they try to do it. There's definitely better ways to approach dieting and losing weight and making it a lifestyle, that's for sure. But at the end of the day, it's going to be on you to be consistent. It's going to be on you to adhere to it. If you're not consistent, you're not adhering to it, I don't care what it is. I don't care if you come here 6 days a week and we prescribe you the perfect plan. If you're not following it, it really doesn't matter. And we went to a seminar with Martin Rooney, who's just an amazing fitness coach, and he's like, it takes as much effort to eat bad as it does to eat good. You're not expending any extra energy to eat healthy as it does to eat bad. Does sometimes it taste better to eat bad? Absolutely, but the effort is the same. It's just all about the intent. So make sure you're consistently adhering to it. I've had people, progress reports, I'm following the plan and I'm not losing weight, and I'm like, all right, let's meet. And then it turns out they're cheating 3 times a week or whatever, and I'm like, you just got to be honest with yourself, and you have to follow the plan, and it works. Alright, now it's time to choose the right nutrition plan for you. So we have two options. So if you just got done with the challenge, I'm going to highly recommend that you do the direct macro counting. And we're going to show you how to calculate your macros, and we're going to show you how to make it for your body type. And it's going to be a little bit more balanced. There's going to be more carbs in your diets. There'll probably be a little bit less protein. And the goal is sustainability and that you can do it long term. And I'm going to show you how to make changes as you go along, because no diet works forever. Eventually, you're going to have to decrease your caloric intake a little bit to continue on. The other option is going to be precision nutrition. So those are going to be for people that don't want to count anything, and the macros isn't going to work for you. Then that one's going to be a little bit easier to follow. It's not going to be as specific to you, but for 80-90% of you, if you follow the precision nutrition guidelines for eating, you're going to be successful. The only people that I've seen that aren't super successful with that one are people that have a very suppressed metabolism from yo-yo dieting. They need a little bit more specific with the caloric intake and getting the right macros. So, but for most of you, that one will work just fine. But if you want the one that's very specific to you, customizable, and obviously going to produce probably the best results, then do the macros. But if you're not at a level in your life that you're willing and able to count macros, then do precision nutrition and you'll be just fine. All right, we're going to talk about direct counting macros. So those of you who just got done with the 28-day, that's not counting macros. Okay, so 4 of you, so you guys probably have no idea what I'm talking about with counting macros. I will send a link to our challenge nutrition page that talks about counting macros. On our plan, we count direct macros, so we're not counting every single macro that comes into our body. We're just counting the main macro in the food. So if you took a steak, a lean steak, we'd count the protein, we want to count the fat. If you took peanut butter, that's 70% fat, we only count the fat, we don't count the carbs and the protein. Does that make sense? So we have videos on that. We're going to actually update the videos in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to make them short on each topic. So it might be a 5-minute video on how to count direct macros, as opposed to you have to watch a 30-minute video. You can just watch the videos that you need to watch or re-reference. All right, so step 1, we want you figuring out what is your body type. So we're going to talk about customizing your diet to your body type. All of us have different shapes, and all of us should have really different diets and different macronutrient makeups based on our body type. So if you're an ectomorph, mesomorph, or endomorph, most of you are going to relate to one of those. So ectomorph is going to be kind of tall, skinny, thin bones. There's not a ton of people that walk through our doors that are true ectomorphs because they're naturally skinny. They can eat carbohydrates, super high carbohydrate tolerance. They can, kind of those people are like, oh, you can eat whatever you want, you stay skinny. The people that a lot of people hate. That's an ectomorph. Right. Mesomorph are more athletic looking, more muscular built. People that naturally put on muscle pretty easy, like Aaron would be a mesomorph. He puts on muscle very easily. He looks very athletic, right? So Aaron would be more of a mesomorph. Kylie is pretty much a mesomorph. She might have a little ecto in her just because she's kind of tall and long, but mostly mesomorph. Obviously, she puts on muscle very easily. And then endomorph, kind of think like guy shape, like kind of look like a power lifter or a lineman. And then endomorph for women, you might say they're more curvy. So that would be the endomorphs. Everyone's not always going to be truly one or the other. You might be a combination of one, but start with one and that you most closely relate to. So does everyone have an idea of which body shape they are? See? All right. All right. So we went through that stuff, but the ectomorph, like I said, tall, skinny, faster metabolic rate, very good carb tolerance, so you can have more carbohydrates in your diet. So a ratio for them, you guys don't have to write the ratios down. I created a calculator for you that all you have to do is go enter in your weight, and voila, you have everything you need. So You don't need to write down all the stuff, but I'm just going to go through it real quick. So ratios for them would be 55% carbs, 25% protein, and 20% fat. So more of a higher carb diet, lower fat diet works better for ectomorphs. All right, endomorphs. So for them, more of a controlled carb diet works better. We have lower metabolic rate, lower carb tolerance. So for anyone who's an endomorph, lower carbs, so 25% carbs, 35% protein, 40% fat. So more of a low carb diet, high protein, high fat diet works better for endomorphs. If you notice it doesn't say no carb diet, you're just going to be a lower carb diet. So it needs to be more controlled. You're not going to respond well to eating a lot of carbohydrates. Mesomorph, so those that are naturally athletic, build muscle very easily, they respond really well to a very balanced diet. So 40% carbs, 30% protein, and 30% fat, which is ideal for them. Obviously, these are ideal numbers, and we'll figure that out for you. Now, figuring out calories, again, I did all the work for you, but a little research on calorie counting and why it's not an exact science. So even though I've done all the work for you, it's still not an exact science, and you're going to have to do a little bit of playing around. And you're going to have to see how your body responds to it and make proper adjustments to it. So there's 80 plus years of research on figuring out caloric expenditure in humans. So figuring out what your resting metabolic rate is. Now, with these studies, we can estimate accurately within 10% either direction 69% of the time. So 10% is a big range. If you look at the numbers, let's just say your resting metabolic rate is supposed to be 1,500 calories. 10% either way is 1,350 to 1,650. That's a big range, and they're only correct 69% of the time. Now, as you get bigger, as you're more overweight and you carry more body fat, the estimations become even worse. Typically, it overestimates your calories because for every pound of body weight, you have less percentage of lean muscle tissue. So, like we said, your resting metabolic rate is highly related to how much lean muscle you have. So, the more higher percent body fat you are, the more inaccurate it becomes. So, and the more overestimation that happens. All right, so your life, you're probably going to want to eat recipes, you're probably going to want to make a recipe for your family. All you need to do is figure out the macros. So enter in the macros. If it doesn't already tell you what's in it, then you can just enter them into either fatsecret.com or MyFitnessPal, get the macros, and then divide it by the servings, and then you have your macros per serving. Now it sounds like a lot of work, but as soon as you figure out your favorite recipes, I mean, how many people are eating like hundreds of recipes all day? No one. Usually you have your go-to stuff, and as you get more consistent with your diet, you're going to have your go-to foods, your go-to recipes. You know, your weeks are going to start kind of looking the same. So once you figure out your macros once, it's not a big deal anymore. Initially, it's a pain in the butt, but as you keep going, it becomes less and less and less work on you, and you know how much is in your foods, and you know what you can eat. And then it makes it really easy to substitute and add and actually follow a flexible diet and eating plan. All right, what happens if you overeat your macros at a meal? Subtract them from another meal. So if you have a meal that's a little bit bigger and you know you went over your protein, you went over your fats and your carbs, then subtract them from a different meal later, and then you're still on point, you're still going to hit your macros, you're still under calories, you're still within your ratios, you're still good, okay? Eating out, you can follow the macro plan, still eating out, but you need to look at menus ahead of time and plan for it. Don't bring like a lunch to work and you know your macros, and then all your friends are going out to lunch and you go with them and you just wing it. Well, I hope I made it. That doesn't work. So plan ahead, figure out the macros, and then if they're over, subtract them from your other macros. If they're under, then you can add food later. It's really that simple. Supplements continuing on. Half your meals can still be shakes. So if the shakes work well for you, if you're eating 6 meals a day, then you can have 3 shakes a day. We advocate whole foods 100%. If you can eat whole foods, eat whole foods. But obviously the shakes make it convenient. If that's the way to fit in the food into your lifestyle, then make sure you do that. High quality multivitamin. So make sure it's a quality multivitamin. If you're just getting synthetic vitamins from the store because they're cheap, they're really not doing a whole lot for you anyways. So invest in the more high quality multivitamin. If you're not eating your veggies, we still want you eating 6 servings of veggies a day. If you're not eating your veggies, then take a green supplement to make sure that you're getting all the stuff you should be getting from your food that you're not. Fish oil, krill oil. Now everyone's like, how much should I take? Well, all supplements are different. So what they do have is EPA and DHA. Aim to get 2,000 to 3,000 of EPA or DHA. So on the container, it might be 561 and 400 of the other. At the end of the day, make them total 2,000 to 3,000, and then you know you're getting enough fish oil. So it's not a matter of how many grams of fish oil I should take or how many grams of krill oil I should take. It's a matter of how much of the EPA and DHA that you're getting each day. That's what matters. So total that up, and that's how much fish oil or krill oil you should be taking. So for everybody, it's going to be different. It's going to be different on the supplement you're taking, but that's optimal. You need to make sure that you're getting those essential fats into your diet. And then possibly a fiber supplement. If you're not eating enough fruits and vegetables and eating the good healthy carbs that we recommend, you're probably not going to be getting enough fiber. If you start eating more simple because you make it fit your macros, your fiber intake is going to be lower, so you might want to look into a fiber supplement. So for women, the minimum you should be getting a day is 20 grams of fiber, but ideally it's about 25 to 30 grams. There's different resources, different places that say different things. I linked an article talking about fiber into the program, so if you want to look at the importance of fiber, which 99% of you probably don't care, you can go look at that. Men, minimum of 30 per day, on average about 38 grams per day. Now, one Quest bar has about 15 to 20 grams of fiber in it, so if you're the type that sucks at getting fiber, eat a Quest bar a day, make it fit your macros, and you're going to be pretty close. But if you're eating the recommended fruits and veggies each day, you shouldn't have to worry about it. Water, make sure you keep the water intake high, so half your body weight in water. Can't tell you how many people, it's like, diet's over, I'm done drinking water. No, keep drinking water. It's so important for your health, so important for fat loss, and so many different things. I think I linked an article to why water is important as well. Now, structuring your meals, I already talked about this, but we're going to balance out your meals. They're going to be evenly spaced out. If you're eating 4 or 5 times a day, you're going to eat the same amount of protein, the same amount of carbs, the same amount of fat for each meal. If you're having 6, the only thing that changes is your last meal. Your carbs aren't going to be in that last meal. They're going to be in your the first 5 meals. The reason why this is important, your body likes consistently. If it consistently knows it's getting a fuel source, it's more likely to burn fuel. Our bodies are designed to survive. So if you're, inconsistently feeding it and you eat every 2 hours and you go 5 hours and then whatever, and you're feeding it just weird stuff all the time, when the supply is inconsistent, your body is going to conserve and it's going to burn less fuel. So if you're consistently feeding your body and it knows it has food coming in, it's far more likely to burn calories and burn body fat. There is no advantage of having a fast metabolism when it comes to survival. So we need to do everything that we can to convince the body that it's okay to burn calories. If you want to know where your macros are at, how many macros are in something, you can go to fatsecret.com, keep using it, enter it in there, it gives you some really good information. If you want to see total macros, go to myfitnesspal.com. And enter those in. Obviously, that's the total macros. It's not going to be the direct ones. So when you look at that, count those correctly. Now, continued coaching. We need you guys to put in some effort. So if you want continued coaching, I'm going to require that you guys enter in your macros into MyFitnessPal for an entire week. So we need a total picture of what's going on, what foods you're eating, how many total calories you're actually getting in, not just the direct amount of calories that we told you to eat. It'll let us see how far off the list you're eating. It'll let us see how many indirect extra calories per day that you're getting so that we can make an educated coaching decision for you. We need all the information possible. So for us to help you, we're going to have to require a week's worth of food logs from you guys. So don't just write your foods down and then have us enter it into MyFitnessPal. We don't have the time to do that, unfortunately, so make sure you guys enter that stuff in, and we're more than happy to help you. That's the only requirement for continued coaching, okay? So at the end of the day, if you're not willing to do that, then probably us helping you probably is not going to work anyways. All right, so that's macro counting, precision nutrition. This one's really short and sweet, so we'll get through this. So precision nutrition, the reason why we utilize precision nutrition, so this is a different form of eating, so we're transitioning here, just making that claim here. Why we utilize precision nutrition, it's simple to understand, it's simple to implement, it's healthy, supports fat loss, and supports performance. Who doesn't like that, right? So in the guide, I've linked precision nutrition strategies for success. It explains why you do what you do. It's like 42 pages long. I don't recommend reading it all at once, but if you want to know the whys of why you're doing it, then go ahead and read that guide. All right, so basic precision nutrition principles. It's not really different than what you're already doing for the most part. Eat lean protein at every meal. We all know that. Eat 1 to 2 servings of veggies at every meal. If you did the challenge diet, you're already doing that. They have a philosophy of earning your carbs, so it goes into meal timing. So most of your carbs should come after your workout. So in the post-workout time, those are when the carbs are going to should be entering your diet. So the starchy carbs and all the other things that we really like, not fruits and vegetables, that's when you earn your carbs. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Eating every 2 to 4 hours, so you're still staying consistent with your eating patterns, and you should stick like clockwork almost. If you eat every 3 hours, eat every 3 hours. If you like eating every 2 hours, eat every 2 hours. You shouldn't really get outside about an hour either way, either direction with that, because then your blood sugar is going to get low, and then you're going to want to eat everything, and you turn into Cookie Monster. Eat a variety of healthy fats. They're a huge advocate of eating a variety of healthy fats and getting saturated fats, getting monounsaturated fats and polyunsaturated fats. So getting a variety of fats, not just eating peanut butter at every meal. Like that's not a variety of fats. That's one fat. Eliminate sugary beverages. This is just kind of, everybody already knows that, but eliminating fruit juices, eliminating pop, all those sugary stuff. Because that stuff really adds up. That jacks up your insulin levels, makes it almost impossible to burn body fat. So it's amazing. Just eliminating that stuff reduces 200 to 300 calories a day, all coming from straight sugar. Your health and your waistline will appreciate it. They have what's called a 90-10 rule. So it's adhering to the lean eating principles 90% of the time, and you have a 10% leeway. So if you're eating 6 times a day over 7 weeks, that's 42 meals. That means there's about 4 opportunities a week to eat outside the guidelines. Now it's not like full out binge cheat meals and all that stuff where you're like, well, if I do precision nutrition, that means I get 4 huge cheat meals and all those things. It's eating outside the guidelines. So if you're not eating lean protein and healthy fats and vegetables, and you have something else, then that would be an opportunity outside. So that would be part of the 10%. So you need to adhere to the plan 90% of the time. It's not all-out binge. Like if you go out and have like an all-out binge cheat meal, that's probably 4 of your times right there. So it's not necessarily 4 cheat meals. It's just not eating the precision nutrition way one of the times. Eat slowly and stop when 80% full. That kind of goes for everyone. When you're following macros, we really want you hitting your macros. There's a reason why you're prescribed that many. But when we'll talk about, it's kind of serving sizes. If you're not full, don't keep eating. Don't stuff yourself. That just forces bad habits. That when you're eating past full, that's not good. There's a reason why you're full. Listen to your body. It's really that simple. Choose mostly whole foods and minimal processing. That makes sense to everybody. Whole foods are always best. Choose local organic foods whenever possible. Use smaller plates for most people. So it's amazing what a small plate will do to make food look bigger. When you go to a restaurant, they give you these big, gigantic plates, and they fill them up, right? They actually gave you like what you should be eating on those big, gigantic plates. It will look way less food than it actually is. But as soon as you put a serving of protein, a serving of carbs, a serving of veggies on a small plate, it looks like a lot of food. So it doesn't feel like you're not eating much. So start eating off smaller plates. If all you have in your house is big plates, I get rid of them. Get some smaller plates, eat off them. You'll be amazed at what it just changes the perception of how much food you're eating, and magically it fills you up more. It's kind of freaky. So there's two types of meals with precision nutrition. There is anytime meals and there is post-workout meals. So an anytime meal is going to be a serving of lean protein, 1 to 2 servings of veggies, and then a serving of fat. Fruit can make its way in there, but it should be predominantly vegetables and not fruit. So if you have a couple servings of fruit a day, that's fine. But with these meals, we're trying to keep protein relatively high. We're trying to keep fats moderate. We're trying to keep carbohydrates low. So anytime meals should be eaten anytime that it's not after a workout. So any time of the day, you're going to have an anytime meal. If it's after a workout, you're going to have a post-workout meal, which is going to be more of your carbohydrates. So the post-workout meal, you see it says starches, but it could be pretty much anything. So you'll have a serving of protein. You can have fruits and vegetables. Focus more on the veggies, it says, and then have a serving of carbohydrates. So that's the time of the day that carbohydrates are going to increase, is after your workout. Your body's more primed to utilize carbohydrates after a workout, so that's the best time to have it. So those are really the principles. Now, let's go over serving sizes. I'm going to talk about the recipes in a minute. What's great about PN is they have a lot of recipes. It's a lot of recipe-based, but not everyone has time to make recipes for 5-6 meals a day. So how to structure your meals for women. Protein size is your palm. So just the palm. God gave you a perfect measuring device. It's called your hands. So if you are a bigger person, typically you have a bigger hands. And typically you have a higher metabolism and need more food. So palm of your hand, unfortunately I have a very small palm, so I don't get a lot of protein. But so a serving size, so most women, that's about 3 to 5 ounces of protein. Vegetables is going to be a fist, and again you should be eating about 1 or 2 servings of vegetables a day. So about fist size, which ends up being almost a cup worth of vegetables. If you're eating carbohydrates, like a cup size, so palm it, that would be carbohydrates. And then fats is just going to be the length of your thumb. So that's really that simple. So when you're eating out and you eat at a restaurant and they bring you a steak that's this big, you should probably know you shouldn't eat it. So palm it, bring the rest home, and you're good to go. So that's calorie control for most women. And that's where you should get started with that. So if you're not eating off the recipes, which I'll talk about in a minute, that is how you count portion sizes. For men, pretty much just doubles. So you guys get 2 palms of protein. So typically that can range from 5 to 8 ounces, maybe even a little bit more. 2 fists of veggies, 2 palms of carbs, and then 2 thumbs of fat is typically. So it depends on when you're eating them, obviously. That's not one meal. That's when you have a protein. That's when you have a vegetable. That's when you have a carb. That's when you have a fat. So you're still applying the anytime and the post-workout principles, but that is your serving sizes. Anyone have questions on that? It's pretty simple. We've probably all heard that. It's been preached forever. So PN's very recipe-based. So if you never want to count anything, you never want to figure out anything, create the recipes and you're good to go. So if it's a anytime meal, you'll just go to the recipe guide. We have an online PDF for you, and then there's a book that you can actually purchase. So if you want to just work off recipes most of the time, you can do that. So you'll just need to make sure that if you're a woman, you're having the woman sizes. If you're a man, you're having the man sizes. So very recipe-based. You don't have to do anything. They've done all the work for you. They figured out the protein for you. They figured out the carbs for you. They figured out balancing your fats. Most of the recipes actually have a 1/3 ratio of saturated to polyunsaturated to monounsaturated fats, which they feel is the most optimal ratio of fats. So they've done all the work for you. The recipes 90% of the time taste really good. Some of them aren't the greatest. But if you just want recipes, you don't want to think, you can do that. So if you're thinking about planning ahead and preparing, like you could have the same breakfast all week, you could have the same lunch all week, you could have the same dinner, or you can rotate different dinners. Most people with family and lifestyle like to have different dinners with their family and all those kinds of things, so you could rotate the different dinners that you have. But very recipe based. Eat what you like, don't eat what you don't like. There's so many ways to eat healthy, lose weight, eating the food you enjoy. It kills me when people are like, oh, I hate diet food. It's like, you're not trying, you're not working towards making it fit your lifestyle, making it taste good. So make the food taste good and don't worry about it. Again, follow the principles 90% of the time. Get your booty to boot camp 3 to 4 days a week, and you should be successful. If you're not, then we might have to work towards more of a macro counting plan. All right, that's it on PN. Is there any questions on any of the stuff that I covered? PN is really that simple that I can talk about in 5 minutes. Questions, concerns?
I'm just wondering, so now if we do the macro, now it's not like protein and fat or protein and carb. We have all three at every meal.
Yep.
Okay.
You're not going to have a lot of, you'll have a decent amount of protein, probably be a little bit less of protein than you've been having, but now you're going to have more of a balance.
We can have the 3 at each meal.
Yes. You don't have to worry about not combining
okay.
combos. So that would probably be the biggest mental hurdle for most of you is we were like, hey, don't combine.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's fine. When we get to the point where maybe you stop responding to the diet, we might have to start looking at meal timing and maximizing meal timing and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, looking at it from a 52 week to the rest of your life, it's fine. So the meals are going to be smaller. There's going to be probably less fat combination with the carbs because it's spaced out. So you're going to basically burn through that, and then you burn body fat, and then you eat again, you burn through that, then you burn body fat, burn through that. So it's actually really, really good. The other thing I forgot to mention, which is why I have the whiteboard, is once you get to where you want to be, which is ultimately where everybody wants to get to, is happy with where they're at, and then it's about maintenance. Maintenance is like the hardest thing you can do though, because mentally the scale's not going down anymore. You don't get to step on the scale in the morning and see that it went down 0.3 ounces or 0.3 pounds, and you're like, woo! There's no more fat loss, happy dance. So the hardest thing is maintenance, and everybody comes out of their diets incorrectly. So it's kind of like, okay, I hit my goal, what's next? And what you want to do is incrementally reduce calories. We want to incrementally increase calories. So if you look at a diet, and this is why this is here, just to go over this. So when you look at a diet, so let's just say you started your diet at 2,000 calories. Okay, so as you incrementally go through your diet, your metabolism is going to naturally slow down. So then you reduce your calories and adjust to it. Your metabolism is going to naturally slow down with it. So you do that. So by the time you get to the end of your diet, you might be eating 500 calories less than you were when you started your diet, because we've just incrementally reduced. So there's going to be a big gap between here and here. So you used to be at 2,000 calories, but now your metabolism is at 1,500 calories. So what a lot of people do though is they go back to just eating 2,000 calories a day. But your metabolism's at 1,500 calories a day. So there's going to be a 500 calorie excess. Now as you increase calories, yes, it's going to slowly increase, but as it's slowly increasing, this whole time, you are gaining body fat. So we don't want to do that. So the best option, just like we reduced 50 calories at a time, is to increase 50 calories, let your metabolism adjust 2 to 3 weeks, increase 50 calories, let your metabolism adjust 2 to 3 weeks, and just keep going up. Eventually, you're going to get back to 2,000 calories a day, but you're going to be the same body weight. Whereas the other way, by the time your body fully adjusts to the 2,000 calories, you probably gain 10, 15, 20 pounds, and then you're going to start your diet all over again. So it's best to slowly, incrementally increase your calories, let your metabolism adjust to it, You're still eating healthy, you're still counting calories, you're still counting your macros, but it's just a slow, methodical process to get your metabolism up. Now, let's say you wanted to diet again, maybe you want to lose 5 pounds. When you start your diet again, your metabolism's going to be way back up there, and it's going to be very easy to lose those 5 pounds, as opposed to maybe you don't do all this process and your metabolism's still down here and you want to lose weight. Well, then you're going to have to overly restrict calories again, more than you should, to lose the weight, which we don't want. So reverse dieting, many people haven't heard that term, and it sounds kind of funny, but it's the best way to get out of your diet, get your metabolism back up, get it healthy, so that you don't gain weight. And it's nice that you can maintain again at 2,000 calories, but now you're 15, 20 pounds lighter, eating the same amount of calories you were when you were 20 pounds heavier. Does that make sense? It's a pretty simple concept, but it's hard to do because most people aren't patient enough to do what it takes to do it right. So be patient with it. It's a slow process. The weight isn't going to come overnight. At the end of the day, if you want to lose 100 pounds, you need to lose 2 pounds a week. That's it. But when I say lose 2 pounds a week for 52 weeks, that doesn't sound very sexy, right? Even though that's exactly what you want. You want to lose 100 pounds in a year, you need to lose 2 pounds a week. That's what you need to do. But when you hear 2 pounds a week for 52 weeks, it doesn't sound as good as I want to lose 100 pounds in a year. But that's exactly what you want to do. So aim to lose 1 to 2 pounds a week. If you're smaller, the percentage is going to be less. If you're like 150 pounds or less, it might be 1 pound to 1.5 pounds a week. And that should be a win for you. You shouldn't have to see a 3, 4, or 5 pound weight loss every single week to consider that success. Anytime that scale moves down, anytime you lose inches, anytime you lose body fat, that is success, and just keep building on that and take it one day at a time. Anything else?
What is the philosophy behind an endomorph having 40% body or 40% fat in their diet?
So you guys are going to respond better to a lower carbohydrate diet. So it's mainly a hormonal purposes, but when carbs are lower, then we're going to have to keep fats higher and proteins higher. But your body just responds better to that structure. Your body doesn't do well with carbohydrates, but we got to get calories from somewhere, right? So we can't just give you a crap load of protein. That's not going to be healthy for you, and that's not going to help. So
it doesn't stop you from burning your body fat?
No. If that was the case, everyone who did the challenge would have gained weight. So fat doesn't make you fat. Overeating makes you fat. So and honestly, if your body doesn't respond to carbohydrates very well, and even if your calories are in control, you're going to limit your body's ability to burn body fat, because your insulin levels are going to be high all day long. So most people that are endomorphic are very insulin resistant. So when you eat carbohydrates, your body doesn't process the insulin very well, so insulin stays high all day long. And when insulin's high, it shuts down fat burning. So we need to really control insulin levels with people that are insulin resistant. So people who typically are endomorphic are more insulin resistant than most people.